slide here that shows all the different systems that you may have on site, your ERP, your LEMS, your LES, instruments, hardware, different data capture systems. And so really the goal of something called Integration Manager is to deliver this integration across this enterprise. And the benefits, well, it can give you a number of benefits really. The most obvious is your transcription errors. It's the first one. It will improve your data quality, your data integrity. And also, what's quite handy is it will collate all data from all these systems to a single repository. And so then you can do different data analytics on that within your site. Okay, so Integration Manager is a concept. Well, we have System A and System B, two external systems. And really the goal of Integration Manager is to take the integration away from these two systems. We don't want to have to make considerable changes to either System A or System B. We want the integration to be outside of that and easily configured. And that's what Integration Manager does. We have System A, which has typically a proprietary data format, so format A. System B will have its own data format. And what Integration Manager will do is it'll take the data format from System A, transform it into a common system neutral format, which typically will be, say, XML or YAML perhaps. And then once it's in that format, we have a structured system neutral format which can be transformed into the native format of any other system we want to proceed. So we'll have an import transform and an export transform. So that's the general concept of Integration Manager. So how do we form connections to all these different systems? Well, in Integration Manager we have what's known as agents. And an agent will allow you to connect an agent will allow you a specific type of connection. We have a file agent, which will allow you to import and export files from a specific location, perhaps an instrument file, for instance. A remote agent, which works in conjunction with your file agent in the cases where maybe you have an instrument in a remote location, and a remote agent can be used in conjunction with the file agent, a remote network location. And a COM port, so a COM port for a simple COM port instrument where you have a single resource passed back on an RS-232 serial connection. We then have a workflow agent, which is new to implement our Integration Manager 3.1. And this utilizes Microsoft Windows Workflow Foundation, which allows you to essentially build a process. And so rather with the COM port integration where you have a single result being passed, with the workflow you can actually build a conversation between your instrument and Integration Manager. And so it will trigger certain reactions, certain activities. We have the SQL agent, which enables connection to databases. You can connect to Oracle, SQL Server, or Console EDC. Form agents are useful in the case of, say, an integration where there's some data missing perhaps from an instrument that the user must enter for it to be transferred to another system. A form will prompt the user for that information. So for instance, on an instrument integration, you could prompt the user for sample number, test number. We then have agents for each of the thermal scientific within systems. Web service agents for connecting with web services. An ERP agent for connecting to SAP R3, and that's certified by SAP for integration with the QMIDI. And finally, we have the Empower agent for connection to Empower and transfer of your chromatography data. So there's a hierarchical structure in Integration Manager where the agent has an integration point. And an integration point essentially, I should say really, I'm just going to discuss the technical benefits of Integration Manager first. If you think this is a bit technical at the moment, then I'll discuss a couple of cases after that, which will be examples of what we've got at Orbis. So this is a bit technical at the moment, but just to say that there's an integration point which connects to, which essentially represents a system within Sample Manager. And for each system, connecting one integration point to another forms an interface. And within each integration point, you can have what's known as integration point object, which will have an import. There'll be an import and export IPO, and this will form a bidirectional interface. So here you'll see each system has two integration point objects, an import and an export. And on both those integration point objects, we can form transforms. So what kind of transformations can we do, and how can we do them? So we have three different types of transforms: structured to unstructured, unstructured to structured, and structured to unstructured. So unstructured generally is a text, a CSV, an RTF file, something like that, and a structured format would be XML. And this again is just an example of an interface here. So we have an instrument plain text file, which is transformed to XML. So again, the concept being we get that to our common object format of XML, and then we can transform that into any proprietary format of the destination system. So here we have an XML to XML transformation to LIMXML format, which is the proprietary format for Sample Manager. And this is just a look at the Manage Transformation screen in IM. And the reason I wanted to show you this is just to demonstrate the versioning on transformations. So you can have multiple versions of each transformation, and the active version is what is one which we'll be using. So it makes managing of transformations quite easy. You can check them in, check them out, create new versions, activate, and you can see the interface there. The transformation with A decided is the active one. So there you see it's split into three different types: file to XML, XML to file, and XML to XML. Okay, so this is what looks like a complicated screen, but it's the transformation script designer. And really what I just want to demonstrate is it looks quite complicated, but it has it actually can be quite easy to understand when you break it down. So we have this is for text XML, I should say. So there's three different screens, one for each transform type. So on the top left we have the input format, which here is a CSV file. On the top right we have the output format, which is a basic XML file. And then on the bottom left we have the command script that's used to transform one file to the other. And you'll notice here I've added the right click option, which is I don't know if you can see that, it actually says auto build fields. And so for a very simple transformation, you can actually use an auto build function that will do that will create this transformation for you. And that's available on text to XML transformation. There's also a neat feature of importing and exporting a transformation. So if you've already created a transform for one instrument, say, and you have another instrument that's quite similar, you can export the first transformation and import it, and just make a minor modification situation. We have XML to text. So again, you'll see on the top left we have import. On the top right we have the output format. And what I wanted to show here was just the test functionality. So you can debug and test these transformations without actually having to have any instrument connections or system connections, depending on what you're integrating. And on the bottom left-hand side, you'll see we have the output, or the result of the transformation. And the final one is XML to XML. What I just wanted to highlight on this screen is the fact that you can use XSLT to do the transform. So in this case, we don't actually have to write a command script at all. If you're familiar with the use of XSLT, you can transform your XML to XML quite simply. Okay, so that's the transform design. So another good feature about Integration Manager is the ability to monitor your transactions, view agent status, and essentially have transparency into how data is transferring from one system to the other. So the screen we have here again is from IM Administration Client, and this is the agent status screen. So you see it follows the same hierarchical structure. We have an agent, integration point object, and this creates status. So very easy to monitor the activity of your agent. There's a second tab here for interfaces. So an interface again is the connection between the two systems, one integration point connected to another integration point. And this will display each interface for you and allow you to process commands at the bottom right hand corner. Another very useful screen is the view transaction status. So for any data that's transferred from one system to another within Integration Manager, you can see the complete transaction status for that within this screen. You'll see you have transaction status on the right hand side there, complete error processed. It'll give you a unique transaction ID for each event, and it'll also let you know what transfer modes are used within that transaction. In the bottom pane, you'll see it'll show you the import and export integration point out there. And if you actually click on the Show Data button, it'll display to you the file structure that was either imported or exported from that system. So this makes troubleshooting very, very easy. Okay, so now just to get to a couple of cases from where we've done it all this. First is a metals testing laboratory, and this is a one-way instrument integration with Sample Manager from a number of instrument file outlets. On the left-hand side here we have the instruments that were integrated, an ICP OES, a couple of IRs, an ArcSpark OES. And these produce their own unique file formats. So we have 3 CSVs and an RTF. So Integration Manager, Serena Integration Manager, a file agent is used to pick up each of these different file types from different locations. So each of these file types will have their own integration point objects, their own import integration point objects. And this was transformed into a common XML format. So we have, from this point on, we have all file types in one file format once the transform is complete. Then using the Sample Manager agent within Integration Manager, we could transfer these results directly to Sample Manager. And this required zero modifications to the Sample Manager. It only required configuration of the links and null activities which are already there. Okay, so this is an example of the one-way integration that was carried out. And just to get a look at the transformations that were done within that process, we start out with an RTF instrument file here, moved it to our common XML format, and then finally to our links.nl format, which contains all the commands and results from the instruments that are to be carried out to the Sample Manager. So you might be able to see that it's a result entry command. Our second case is with the Stability Management System. So we're integrating this with Sample Manager. So here we have a stability system, our integration manager, and our sample manager. And we have this stability API, which is an application product interface. So the stability management system came with this product interface that enabled writing and reading of results. So how this interface worked was a sample would be pulled within the stability management system. The API would get these pulls using a get pulls routine. Integration Manager would then pick up this proprietary XML format, transform it to its common format, and then transfer that onto the Sample Manager agent. And in Sample Manager, this would log samples and jobs and assign tests based on the sample behavior in the stability system. And this is a bidirectional interface. So once results were entered in Sample Manager and approved, an SQL agent would then poll Sample Manager for all approved samples, all approved stability samples within a given time range, transform that to the stability XML format. Stability API and write results routine would then pick up that file and update results in the stability system. So you can see a number of agents were using just want to point out here the logging and monitoring. So you saw within our IAM we have the agent status monitor and you have the transaction monitor. But also within this process we have log files on the sample manager side and also on the stability API side. So there's extensive logging and transaction monitoring across this process. Again, similar to the previous slide, just an example of the data transformation from XML format to our XML format and the various mounting data. So this is an example of some of the instruments that were integrated at Shell, just to give you an idea of the variety. Chromatography systems, analyzers, distillation, feeds. So it's very varied in what we integrate. Okay, so just to recap then on the benefits of Integration Manager: elimination of transcriptional errors, correlation of data, and increase productivity. So not only might it transfer data faster, but it also frees up time for your analysts to do other more critical tasks perhaps. Increase consistency, quality, and integrity of results, and also enable complete data overview because Integration Manager is collating all this data into one location. So that's Integration Manager. Is there any questions?
In terms of, say, the intermediate files associated with this, how are companies handling that data? You have your file from your instrument, and then you have your intermediate file that you've created, and then you also have your transfer link. So how do people treat that intermediate state?
Well, the intermediate isn't actually a file. It's what's called a common object in Integration Manager. An Integration Manager comes with its own database. So this is stored as part of the system. It doesn't require any other repository outside of that. It's not an actual file itself.
So it stays within Instrument Manager.
It stays within Integration Manager.
Do you have access to the file in Integration Manager? Modify anything on the file in Integration Manager?
No, you can't. The only way to modify is to modify the transformation. There is security built into Integration Manager, so there's an admin user and there is a basic user. So only the admin user will have access to make those kind of modifications. There's no way to modify anything within Integration Manager externally. There's no external files there. Yep, sorry, go ahead.
How are various agents in the Integration Manager invoked?
They're Windows services, so they're running in the background and they're independent of each other also. So if one service was to be stopped, it would have no impact on any other agent that's running in the system. Okay, so every agent which is running is independent of the other.
So they can be controlled outside the Integration Manager.
Yeah, there's two interfaces for Integration Manager. There's what's called the Service Manager and the Administration client. The Service Manager allows you to manage the agents, and the Integration Manager allows you to configure the integration. You could also configure it from Windows Services Manager also. Start and stop service. Yeah.
So can Integration Manager be used to transfer data across operating systems? And also could it be used to port legacy data, for example, to upgrade legacy data to let's say a newer version of Windows?
Well, it can be used to transfer data across networks, so that's not a problem. And the second question, can it be used to upgrade data?
Yeah, well, let's say you've got legacy data from a very old instrument, for example. I don't know, maybe CSV or something like that.
Yeah.
But the data, but it's not coming from an instrument, it's coming from maybe stored data or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do a CSV transform to transform that into want to import that data into?
Oh, well, let's say if you wanted to import it into a link, if you want to
Yeah, absolutely.
data within links or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, on that point, I'm actually not quite sure. Yeah.
From management, integration management, I've been keeping quiet.
Sorry.
Talk go. You probably use FTP data, you use sample shares on
So you bypass IM then?
well, no, you do just treat them like file share, essentially. Or depends what you're speaking to, but use TCP/IP, one of those common formats that go across both systems. But we wouldn't have a specific agent that sat on that, or sit outside of that.
FTP agent.
Well, actually, you use the workflow agent for that there.
Thank you, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Very much.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you. Can you all hear me? Or, well, if you can't hear me, so when I start to get quiet, just tell me to
I'll do that.
shout. No, I won't be looking down there because I can't see you down there with my glasses on. So, I just have a few slides to go through first, just as an introduction to laboratory execution systems, and then I'm going to show you a demo. I have a virtual machine. So, during the demo, so you'll see some samples being logged into Sample Manager, so create a batch, and then go into the LES, then go to Chromeleon, and then you can get the results back from Chromeleon. So hopefully that will tie in some of the things that you've seen today. Okay, so with the overview of the execution system, there's just definitions of what a laboratory execution system is. So the idea is that the LES will help to drive the methods in the lab, help to enforce the method so that everybody will be using the same method, same steps. And the LIMS or whatever, so the LES is separate to the LIMS, but you tie them in together so you can link the link from the LES to the LIMS, so that you open up the LES from the LIMS, you execute your method, it goes to Sample Manager, it gets all the results. You can enter data into the LES from Sample Manager, and then from the LES back into Sample Manager. You can put your SOPs and whatever, so that you can have your SOPs, and you can have the link in Sample Manager. You can then use that SOP in LES and create an eSOP with the steps of your SOP to create your LES method. So the benefits of the LES is really to simplify the process for the analysts, so that to make it clear to them, to make sure that everybody is following the same steps, and you can guide them through the method in the way that you want them to follow through the method. There's also the ISO 17025. So because you have your links to your instruments and your stocks in Sample Manager and your training records, so this will help enforce the rules that it'll make sure your instruments are calibrated, your stocks are within the correct expiry date, and also even just making sure that when they're selecting an instrument or a stock, that they're just browsing on the suitable instruments or suitable stocks. And then again, sort of the user has to have a training record, or they have access through within Sample Manager based on their roles that for a particular step, they can only execute that step if they have the correct access level and correct training. So you can access the LES through a web browser. So if you wanted to use it on a tablet or some mobile device, you can use it through the web, or you can also access it through Sample Manager. Then you can also sort of toggle between the screen for the your different methods, and then to drill down into that method. So if you select the method, then when you select the method, whenever this is the screen that is brought up. So you have your lab methods, and again, you set up your methods. You can have they can go through an approval cycle. They can have active dates. You can have versions. So as you change your method, you can create a new version and have it effective from a particular date. Then, as I said, with your SOP, so you can import an SOP into your the lab execution system. You can display that full SOP, and then you can break that SOP down into steps, which is your ESOP, so that you have your steps defined. And as you define your step, you can say what activities are required for that step, and also how that step is displayed within the LES screen for the user. So these are your activity details. So this will, just decide sort of, what you want displayed on the screen and how you want it displayed, and what instructions you're giving to the analyst. So then, when you're actually executing the method, you can go into your links. You can select your method, and then these are the steps. So you can have checklists. The method, there's audits on the method. You can see who's performed what step at what time, and what the data was. So you can have a list of instruments, list of reagents. So you might have preparation steps, so they can prepare them. And again, the way it's displayed, whatever, like you can have buttons, you can have checkboxes. You can actually prompt them to enter the data. And so then, because there is that link with Sample Manager, you can link it to Sample Manager, so that you can pull samples from Sample Manager, instruments, reagents, training information. All of that can be linked into Sample Manager. If you want pictures or videos, instructions, as you're going through the method or whatever, you can put as much or as little detail on the screen for that step, so that to help enable the user to do it accurately. So, you can have instructions here on the panel to the side. This is Sample Manager information, prompts. And we'll see some of this as in the method that I have in Sample Manager. So again, sort of when you're prompted to select instruments, whatever, again, all of the Sample Manager functionality for the instrument, checking that, check that it's calibrated, check that it's active, not retired, which are if it's a particular instrument type, well then when you are on the list of instruments to select from, it'll only show you instruments of that instrument type. And then again, sort of you can open up Sample Manager result entry within your LES method. So if there's some data that you want to populate during the method execution, you can open up the Sample Manager screen and enter your data. And then again, just your different tabs, whatever. There's different, as you go through your method or whatever, you can see your different tabs. You can click back a step, if you want to see what was presented at the last step, to review it. If you have, as I said, if you want images to help make sure that they do something on the right instrument in the right place, and put something, select the right button or whatever, you can have all of that built into your method. So these are just your different view options with your panels or your steps. Then again, so you can then print the SOP. So if you have an SOP as a method execution or whatever, then you can print that out as well. Is it like when you're creating a method or whatever, it's just a matter of adding a new method. So you create your process, and then you put in your sort of active dates, and then your steps. So you decide sort of, where on the screen, sort of what the layout's going to be, what information you're going to use. And then your, as I said, your ESP is your steps. And again, you have a history of your method, so as you modify the method, you add steps, remove steps, modify it, you also get your whole history. And then I said, you can, if you have SOPs in another documentation system, you can import your SOP into your method. And then again, sort of this various toolbars. So a lot of some of the look and feel is similar to Sample Manager if you're used to Sample Manager. So you add steps, you can insert them, move them up and down, change the layout. So some of it is that look and feel. If you're used to some of the forms, can be helpful. So as I said, LES whatever is sort of it's in Sample Manager 11.1. So as I said, you can use it in the web browser, or you can have the links within Sample Manager. So in order for this this method whatever, so that you can see the process. So the first thing is if we log in a couple of samples. If we just log in a couple of samples that have the sort of this HPLC assay assigned to them. So then once we have the samples logged in, we're going to build them onto a batch, because then from the LES method we can select that batch and create a sequence in Chromelia for that batch. So just create a batch. And we have batch templates or whatever which help define the sequence and the number of standards, the number of reference standards. Okay, so now we have our batch created in Sample Manager. So now if we go into the HPLC method, that we can click on the sort of HPLC assay, and then you can see within the screen or whatever, so you can see your SOP. So you can prompt the user then to read the SOP before they start the analysis. So then as you go through the SOP or whatever, as you go through your steps, you have the next button, so you just click on next. So this will tell you sort of down here in this panel, and again these displays can be configured to how is best suited for you and for your analysts. So you have the instruments and the reagents that are required. So as you click through them or whatever, you can select the instrument, and this will give you the list of instruments from Sample Manager that are suitable instruments and calibrated. And again, when it comes to the stocks, whatever, it will check the expiry date and sort of the amounts, whatever, so it will only show you the stocks and reagents that, again, are suitable for the test. So it's doing all the checking for you. So because it's doing all that checking for you, you know, you shouldn't have to verify again that this reagent was, within expiry, this instrument was calibrated. So then, as we, sort of go through the steps, then so we can click on the next step. And this then tells you sort of as you go through it, whatever, it highlights in bold whatever what is to be performed at that step. Can you all see that? Is it reasonably clear? Yeah. Okay, so you can record then your volumes. Then your volume of the next part of that process is in bold to help to make it clear. Go through the steps, and this, it probably is somewhat simplified, but so obviously as as the analyst is doing it, whatever, they have the method on the screen, and as they're doing the steps, whatever, they can just record them. So now that we have our equipment selected, we have our mobile phase prepared. So now, if you're using barcode labels, whatever, you can just scan in your barcode. We'll just select the batch that we've created. So this batch 10 is the batch that we've created. So, if you're running sort of multiple batches, whatever, or multiple samples, whatever, that you can select your samples or your batches as you're going through. That's the first time I've had a crash. It's typical. So I think it's best if I'll cancel that and let's start again. I think sort of like the idea, like as you go through the steps, but it's that when you get past the set stage, whatever, the next step is to go into to generate sequencing for Chameleon through the IIS.
Are all of the actions within the LES, the execution software, are they all linked to the log in at that particular time?
Yes. So it's recording the user who performs that step and the time they perform the step, and all of that is recorded in the execution history. So you can review that at any time.
you have a test that requires two analysts?
You can have each step, you can define on the step who is allowed to perform that step. So, and it will record for this step, this was the analyst who entered the data, and for step 2, it was a different analyst. So it's recorded per step. Sorry, this. Okay, so I'll just quickly enter that data again. Because the other thing is, if you do actually want, you can look at the process history as you're going through the method or whatever. You can display the process history as you go through it as well. You don't have to wait until the method is completed. Yes, you can make them mandatory. So there's a lot of controls as you're setting up the method itself and setting up the steps, whatever. You can make them mandatory. You can set criteria, on the prompts. You can have there's a lot of different ways to set it up and a lot of control on it. So with this method execution, like you really should be forcing the analyst to enter the right data at the right time, the right steps, follow the SOP, whatever that, because by using the method execution and having the steps in such a way, you're making it difficult for them to do something wrong. Yeah, it's doing all of that checking. Okay, so I said now, sort of you can see that this is bigger. You can see that this is your link now within Sample Manager, so you can link it to data that has been entered into Sample Manager. So if you have or you can enter the data on this screen. So as you weigh out your samples and your standards, that you can record that data during the method execution. Again, like now you can look at, you can display other information so that you can display the chromatograph, that your reference details for your Chromeleon. So then this is the link to Chromeleon. So you can create a sequence in Chromeleon from the batch, from the lab execution system. So if we create a sequence now, so you can then sort of review your sequence, so you can see that, you know, sort of your samples, your reference standards, your controls, whatever, all of that is defined through the default sequence you have for that HPLC assay method. So you can then go into Chromeleon, and you can see your sequences within Chromeleon, and then you can set it to run. So if you haven't, it's not already running Chromeleon web, but you can set it to run. And then we go back to our execution system. So you know, now that you have your sequence in Chromeleon, you've set it to run, it'll, you know, that's really the end of your method. But now you go back into Sample Manager, and if we look at the Chromeleon link, whatever, these are the links within Chromeleon. So you can, you know, within the Chromeleon, somebody's gone off, they've run the sequence, the results are all there, so then you can pull the results back from Chromeleon into Sample Manager. So you just retrieve the results, so you choose the sequence that you want to retrieve them from. You can review your results, get the results. You can normally get the results. you can't see them coming in and whatever, it's decided since now that, yeah, in front of everybody that it will find something. I've just been saying beforehand or whatever that this was so stable. So if you do want to see this, you know, and you do want to see more of LES, because I do have other methods. So, you know, if you want, you know, this is obviously just giving you a flavour of LES, but if you do want to see more detail, obviously we can give it to you. So once you have, you know, you retrieve the results from Chromeleon, and then you can display the results. But so as I said, like normally, sort of it does, you know, all come back into Sample Manager from Chromeleon, and you just see your result entry as normal within Sample Manager. So are there any questions?
Just interested in the build. So you have your, say, your method in a Word document, and you import that on the left-hand screen as you have it. Curious to know then how you convert that Word document to what you call ESP. How do you create each of those pages?
Yeah.
So that they line up with your document, and then in turn, how do you add your specifications to them?
Well, your specifications are just your Sample Manager specifications. So for your results, you have your specifications within Sample Manager. So do all your spec checking as normal. For choosing, you know, for your selections for instruments or for the amounts that, you know, as you're entering them, whatever, if you want to do checking there, then that's set with criteria. For your method, just let me open this up again, but the
So it essentially builds on what you've already built within Sample Manager?
Yes.
Something you've already built is useful.
yeah, so you don't have, if you have something in Sample Manager, you don't have to, you're not building again from scratch. You import your recipe, you have your instruments in Sample Manager, you have your reagents and standards in Sample Manager, and then, so if for the method or whatever, there's in the your actual SOP on one side while you're building the method, and then you have your steps. So that the first thing is to divide your SOP up into the number of steps that you want to have in your execution method. So, and then within the lab execution system, for each of those steps, then you add the detail. So you add the detail of what you want to appear on the screen, where you want it to appear on the screen, and what prompts you want to prompt the user for. So that's all built up. But by having your SOP on one side and your ESOP on the other side, you can build your logical steps. And then as you're going through building your method, sort of you can add a step, you can modify a step, you can change the order of steps. So if you just because you set it up and then you go, oh no, I wanted those steps in the reverse order, you can just swap the steps. So I think it's like anything else. I think once you have one method built and you know how to build that method, then if you have similar methods, you can copy them and edit them, or you can sort of use that as a framework for future methods. But we can certainly maybe we can look at some of your methods or an example method for you, and so that you can see it in the demo LAS system. Because you're not really going to use it for very simple methods, because if it's just like get a pH of something, you might want to use it at LAS if you really want to enforce something, but it's really for the more complex methods where there's a lot of steps, and you want to guide the analyst to follow those steps in the correct sequence and enter the correct information. Because if you have on the screen that you add 100 mils of this to 900 mils of that, like, it's really prompting the user to do it the right way.
So would it work with Nautilus?
No, not that I know of. So the link is with Sample Manager.